Alrighty. Good morning, boys. It is a good day because we are blessed to be alive. We did end up taking a loss today. I'm going to talk about exactly, you know, what our loss was made out of. Just a little notice, I guess. Trade recaps are going to be executed on here from now on, so you guys will be able to see my entries and exits. Yeah, I'm gonna admit today wasn't the best day, but it also wasn't horrible. So yeah, let's just talk about it. But basically, also we're going to be trading on the micros now. If you know, you know. But yeah, pretty much. By the way, this is just a test. I was just testing to see if my account was online working. But basically, um, today, coming into market open, we can see that 4 hour time frame. We had this gap that we had made, or sorry, we had gap down into this imbalance um, as or because of new week open. So that was something to think about. My kind of bias, and I definitely feel like it was a little strong, and it might have definitely gotten in the way today. But I feel like my bias was pretty much okay. Come down, fill in this gap, get moves out of it, push past this gap. This is a 4 hour gap. I wasn't too incredibly concerned about it. I feel like I should have been more, but I also didn't make any wrong decisions when looking at that, I would say. But yeah, so if you look, you can basically see fill that in, get pushes out. Obviously, we didn't have this candle formed as of market open. But then if you look at the hourly, we can see that pretty consolidated during Asian and then start of London session. And then start of London session, we actually begin our rally up. This is where price ended before market had opened. So we were kind of in that like limbo zone of we are almost past this gap, but at the same time, we haven't really had confirmation that we are past it yet. So at that point, I'm not really looking for longs to be had. I want to wait for more confirmation. And today, I feel like my bias is definitely way more focused on being bullish. And honestly, I would say looking back at this, you do see consolidation. You do see us pushing out of that. It does make more sense, in my opinion, for us to take out these highs and then these highs. But at the same time, today was like one of those obvious days, and I feel like when that happens, more than likely, it's never usually that obvious, or most of the time, it's never usually that obvious. So I could have definitely done better with that. I would say there's a lot to improve on today, and I'm gonna kind of go over that. But yeah, coming into market open, this is what we were looking like. We had filled this gap in, this 4 hour gap, and we obviously were getting pushes out of it. But at the same time, you never know what price is going to do, and it can basically do anything. So, yeah, looking at 15-minute, same deal. Consolidation, and then push out, but still not past this gap. So, my kind of thought process, and then 5 minute, obviously the same. 5 minute, we were looking, just a little choppy. So, my kind of thought process was coming into the day, I want to see confirmation past this gap on both indexes. We ended up getting that on NASDAQ. We ended up doing that before market open. We had already pushed past it, but yes, still was yet to do that. So basically, after that, my kind of thought process was I now want to see confirmation up to these highs, get a good retracement. Don't want to rush into anything, just want to make sure that I'm patient throughout the day. And yeah, overall, I did all right with that. I'll talk about it more when we get into why I took the trade that I did. So let's scale down, kind of look at what price did. So right off the market open, pushed up, then kind of pushed down. And, I didn't like this, and I'm not going to enter long off of this. And then this retracement, I need to be patient, and that's definitely something I'm still getting better at, but I do feel like I am doing well. And I also, one thing I definitely learned today is act on your emotions less. I feel like and I'll talk about it, but I feel like I could have done better on acting on my emotions. It did end up playing out all right, and I feel like there is reason to that. But yeah, anyways, pretty much just entered range. This is poopy looking, but you can see we had this consolidation here on ES, and then from there we ended up coming up and confirming past these highs, and in my opinion confirming this as a draw, these highs up here. But on NASDAQ, what do we look like? Well, we're not really doing that in my opinion. Yes, we inverse this gap. That doesn't really matter. In my opinion, we haven't confirmed these highs yet. And I think that's one of the reasons why this didn't play out. I could have been more patient and basically seen that and been like, okay, no, I'm going to wait until either NASDAQ, comes up higher or something else happens. And that would have overall saved me from even taking this trade. There's that balance between being too cautious, but then also making sure that you're not just like never taking any trades, you know what I mean? So, over trading. Obviously, you don't want to overtrade. But I ended up taking this trade. I ended up taking this trade based off of this pullback down into equilibrium, and then this close out. I did end up entering, I believe, like here. It was around there. It was a 1-to-1 risk reward, targeting these highs and putting stop loss here. I felt pretty good about my stop loss, and that was mainly just because the 5-minute was not looking bad. We didn't have any gaps because this is like where that candle was, so we did not have like any gaps really to fill to the downside. Overall, on like the 15-minute, we didn't have any gaps to fill to the downside, and we had already filled in equilibrium on NASDAQ, so I wasn't too worried about us. Like, I didn't see a reason necessarily for us to make moves down. So that was kind of why I took the trade that I did. Ended up getting absolutely just chopped up like crazy. And then about at this point, we were starting to make moves downwards on NASDAQ, and the 5-minute candle was also not looking very good. I did not fully let it close, but it was, down here, which again, should not be basing a candle before it has closed, should not be judging it before it has closed. But I did end up taking out of here, right here, and that I ended up taking a little loss. It was like $200, like 180, not anything major, but then we did end up coming down up into here, and at this point I was thinking, oh well, maybe we might, come and take profit, and that was a little, like, I guess not worrying, but that would have sucked, and I definitely would have been upset at myself for taking out of this trade. But at the same time, I also have to know that I made that decision and that I need to live with that no matter what. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, it was just kind of like a day. I would say trade idea was there, but it definitely could have been better. Could have waited for more confirmation on NASDAQ. That's definitely something I could improve on. And then I would say acting less on my emotions. Yes, it did help me out, and it did mitigate me from taking an even bigger loss. But overall, I did, act on my emotions, and, it's not really what you want to be doing necessarily. So, yeah, I would say definitely content with today. Today, I feel like was just kind of one of those too obvious days where, it looks exactly like, yeah, we fill a gap, higher time frame. And we had inverse this gap on the hourly, so like that was giving me more confirmation. Okay, it makes sense for us to go upwards, and I didn't really see a reason why we needed to go downwards. I felt like that also. And by the way, this is news, so this wasn't price action. This is mainly caused by news, at least this move for sure. But overall, again, I don't I don't want to marry a bias, because I still need to be open. If price wanted to do this off of market open, I need to be open to targeting these lows and then these lows. You know, I can't marry a bias. I need to be open, and overall just patience would have helped me from taking this trade. But at the same time, you do need to take trades in order to, win trades. So I don't know. Good trading day in my opinion. Definitely lots to learn, and I know this is a long video, but I'm doing it mainly for myself. So if you for some reason are all the way over here, I appreciate you and I love you. And yeah, we'll see what the rest of the week brings. Yeah, be patient. Don't act on your emotions, and don't marry bias. Pretty much main things learned from the day. But yeah, we will see how the rest of the week goes.